Hi everyone, I'm Tally, this is Farrell and we're bored of it. And today we're going to be reviewing Galactic Cruise, which is the new heavy Euro game for 1 to 4 players, which has rocketed into the board game zeitgeist and will surely be on everyone on their dogs. Top 10 games of the year.
Yep. So in Galactic Cruise, all the players are fighting to become the CEO of Galactic Cruise. And this is a company which delivers deluxe space cruises.
Very nice.
You're going to try and create cruises that passengers want to go on, give them a wonderful experience and take them across the galaxy. And the best part is if you become the CEO of Galactic Cruise, you get to wear the lanyard, which is the house rule for the winner in our house.
Insufferable.
So please note, before we get into it, that we were provided this as a review copy by the publisher.
Galactic Cruise is at its core a worker placement game. Now there are more than a dozen distinct actions, so we won't go into depth about all of them, but most turns will see you placing a worker on a space and then taking 2 actions. Interestingly though, you're not limited to the space you choose, which will have 2 actions on it. You can also take actions from adjacent worker placement spaces as long as they are connected by a development, either yours or someone else's. But if you use someone else's, then you have to cough up some cash.
Developments are a particularly versatile and sharp element of gameplay because they're intertwined with so many different areas. Initially, they're going to start on your player board and they're going to block resource slots. So you cannot hold as much as you really need to, and this will in turn limit the size of the cruises you can launch. So when you build them, in a sense, you're getting 2 improvements for the price of 1, which is nice. Then they come into interesting decision making because yes, you can connect actions, but you can also put them down to gain technologies. And these are little things that give you special powers in terms of perhaps making a specific action cheaper when you take it, or boosting a way that you could maybe get points. Finally, developments will also potentially, depending how many you get out, give you a lot of points in the end game.
Something we really like about the action spaces is that they are randomized each time, which provides a different spatial puzzle each game with regards to how they are paired up and where they're situated in relation to each other across the board. It means that there are different problems or synergies in each game. For example, in one game, maybe the developments are really important for efficiency, but in another one, you can get away with mostly not using them and instead obtain numerous technologies.
What you're trying to do through taking those many actions is to build and launch ships and take people on wonderful cruises. But there are a lot of steps to this because first you're going to have to build an engine and a cockpit, then you're going to have to snag some blueprints, then you're going to have to turn those blueprints into reality for the passenger sections. Then you're going to have to schedule a cruise, advertise it so somebody wants to come on it. Then you're going to, of course, launch it, but after making sure you have enough resources so that everyone doesn't die while it's in space. And cruises are vitally important because they are the best way to gain in-game points. This is because your cockpit will have a unique scoring condition. So every time you launch, you will get some points for that. And also because if you have the right resources and enough to pay, you can score all of your passengers up for every destination on that cruise. So it's worth saying at this point that Galactic Cruise is a point salad style game with points coming from all kinds of locations, both in-game and during end-game scoring.
All those things that we mentioned, which need to be done pre-launch, are why there are so many different actions. Galactic Cruise is very much in the style of modern heavy Euro games, where there are a lot of interconnected actions which need to happen in order to complete an end goal, which here is launching a ship. And generally these can be done in any order the player likes. It's a really rewarding system because it allows players a lot of freedom to go about tackling those tasks that need to be done in a way that they wish.
So out of all games, this reminds us the most of Kanban EV.
Yep.
And there are a number of reasons for this, but primarily because although it is a heavy Euro, it is also all about efficiency. And here, what hastens the end of the game is players launching rockets and completing objectives set by the board. Now, a more efficient player will launch more and complete more objectives, and that means they will score more and also hasten the end of the game. So it really pays to be efficient. But there's quite an interesting quandary at the middle, because you have all these actions available to you, and what you really want is to have a very kind of perfect shuttle when you launch, because you want it to be full of tourists, you want to maximize your engine scoring, but if you spend a lot of time setting that up to be perfect, it might be halfway through the game and you haven't even launched a rocket yet.
The key to efficiency is through your workers and how you manage them. You'll start off the game with 2, but have the option to gain 2 more. In a nice twist, the workers that you can gain are actually available from turn 1, but they are very expensive. They become cheaper based on removing certain elements from your player board, such as development. So it's a pretty spicy choice as to when to purchase one, because obviously getting one early on in the game, a whole extra worker, is a massive boon, but it might tank your efficiency if you spent all your money and you have to spend multiple turns trying to recover it. This is because if you don't have any workers to place, then you must call a meeting and all of your workers return to your player board. Now, Galactic Cruise is nicer than most games and will still allow you to take one action when you call a meeting, as long as it's adjacent to one of your developments, but it is still inefficient. Particularly if you've launched a ship, then one of your workers has to stay on the ship for the entire duration of the journey. So if you still only got 2 workers, then you might have to call a few meetings in short succession, which tanks any sense of efficiency.
The fact that you need to do things efficiently, the scarcity of workers, and just that there's so many actions all combine to mean that players really need to think and plan ahead accordingly. And it creates quite a wonderful puzzle to navigate as you play the game. There's also a quite nice tactical element, because you can't block off action spaces with your workers. They just get bumped when another player goes there, although you can't bump your own workers. But what you can do is you can read the room. You can look at what your opponents are missing from their pipeline and where they might need to go, think ahead, and kind of tactically place your workers in a position they might need. And if you get it right, you could be in to get your worker bumped, which means that you get a little reward and you don't have to call a meeting, saving you time.
Coming to a more wholesale view, whilst yes, this is a complex game with many moving parts, there's also a simplicity here that makes Galactic Cruise far more approachable and smoother than a game with this many components, mechanisms and actions has any right to be. Yes, there are a lot of actions, but each one of them is relatively simple and typically the work of only seconds. And when combined with Ian O'Toole's always wonderful graphic design, this is a game that we were able to play without reference in the rulebook after the first session.
And in part, that is due to the absolutely excellent player rates.
Yes.
But in general, the production and the level of it is such high quality. This is the publisher's first game, and it's an absolutely phenomenal first effort, both in terms of just how wonderful it is, but also in how well everything has come together in a game this large without any rough edges. And most importantly, than the production, the game is also fun. It has an absolutely wonderful energy to its theming and its art, and that bleeds into the gameplay, which also has a lot of great mechanisms. One example of this that we felt really made Galactic Cruise shine are the agenda cards. These are cards which are very easy to obtain, and they don't cost anything, but they give you very powerful boosts to actions or just very powerful bonuses. Alternatively, instead of using that bonus, you could discard it for a resource if you're in a pinch, or you could discard it to the company supply to maximize one type of resource in the company supply, which gets you a lot of money and some reputation with the company. And the first thing players love in a game is being able to break it and being able to improve and boost their actions. And this means you can do it repeatedly and throughout very easily. And we think is absolutely great. Second thing players love is a really tough decision. And let me tell you, it is a tough decision when you're a few dollars short of something you really need. And you're looking at this powerful card you might have saved for a few rounds. And you're thinking, should I give it up to get that $5 or should I stick it out and save it? And that's the kind of decision we personally really enjoy.
To summarize, Galactic Cruise is a terrific example of the heavy Euro genre. It is relatively approachable, but also provides a lot of long-term planning opportunities and impactful, crunchy decisions where the ripple effects can be felt throughout the rest of the game.
Final thoughts. Galactic Cruise is really a wonderful heavy Euro, and there's definitely a lot to like about it. The only thing I think I would say that might be slightly negative, and I don't know if I would say it's negative, I think it's just that I find it something that's hard to recommend over other heavy games that are out there.
Yeah.
I think because it's put together so wonderfully, but it's also not novel, I guess, in any way. And in that sense, it's kind of, you can point to other games that do specific elements better, if that makes sense. But certainly worth your time and worth playing if it appeals to you in any way. Yeah. Just that, I think, don't go in expecting the most unique experience you've had in gaming.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I had similar thoughts like when we've been playing it. Really enjoyed playing it, and like no shade to it at all. But I was just trying to think if there is something that maybe stands out, and maybe not so much. Maybe the kind of way the action selection works a little bit.
Yeah. Also the agenda cards I spoke about, but I really like them as well. But it's not enough, I think, to... Another game we're going to talk about very soon is Salt on Sea. I think it's quite similar in a lot of ways in that you have a lot of actions that are very simple, even though it's quite a heavy game. But I think there it gets by on the fact that it has a really interesting action versus money system that really grips you.
Yeah, I think maybe if you don't have a lot of Euro games, and this would be something that you're going to get introduced to them, or just starting out on that journey of going a little bit more heavy, I think this would be perfect, actually.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Just if you have maybe a bunch of similar games in your collection, then this is probably not going to add anything. Yeah,
I think if you have like 6 Vital Lacerdas, you're just, I just wouldn't recommend it to you.
Maybe if you like the theme, then that would be enough to appeal to some people. And if you do get it, then you're going to have a great time, like no doubt about that.
Exactly. So that is our review of Galactic Cruise, a heavy Euro we really enjoyed for a number of reasons, the theme, the gameplay, everything. But thank you for watching, and we'll end it here. Please consider subscribing, and please ask us any questions you might have about the game. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.